Okay, thank you. Okay, so there's our opening slide with the title. These are our DEI committee members. We have Reverend Daryl Jones, we have myself, we have Sheila Smith, we have Brenda Lambert, and we have Rebecca Hiraoka, who is our liaison currently. Daryl and I are acting co-chairs right now since our previous chair resigned. Next slide, please. So we always take a minute to go through our agreements for these things, and certainly heart-to-heart communication is a big part of this. This is an interesting time to be living right now, with lots seeking to be expressed. We'll ask you to suspend judgment and just be present. Take care of yourself. It's okay to be uncomfortable, because sometimes being uncomfortable is an invitation to growth, but in addition to that, just be compassionate with yourself. Some of the things we're going to talk about today might bring up poignant feelings for you. So if you need support, reach out for that. At the end of the day, take care of yourself. You can private message the hosts or anybody on the DEI committee, or you can send an email to inclusion@DEI or CSL.org. So we're going to ask that you remain muted, and if you don't remain muted, one of us will likely mute you if we're not in breakout rooms or things, just because it tends to distract from the experience for everyone else. And also, if you're on the move, if you're walking around or cooking your breakfast or doing whatever you might be doing, probably turning off your video would be less distracting. But certainly if you're not, we want to see who you are. So I see all these faces on my screen. So I'm very excited to see all these people I know. So we do have closed captioning, and this meeting is being transcribed. So if your first language is, or most comfortable language is in English, please feel free to use the translation piece of it. And you can also hide the captioning if you choose that. We are going to go do some breakout room things. So when we get into sharing or things like that, if you want to share, go ahead and raise your hand, and then we'll call on people to do that. We'll have time for some shares, a couple of different places in this. And any questions that you ask that we haven't answered during the live webinar, we will go ahead and answer afterwards. All right. What is my next slide? Okay, so what we're going to do next is we are going to have Reverend Sharon Mitchell offer a spiritual mind treatment for us so that we can begin our webinar.
Good morning. Right where I am, God is. Divine spirit, divine intelligence, the expression of the one cause that becomes multiplicity. Diversity is everywhere present. This divine intelligence pours itself into form by becoming the thing that it makes, and oh, the amazing forms it creates. The flowers, the trees, the people, the vegetables and fruit. It is everywhere present. Diversity exists. That is a fact of our lives. It is an opportunity we have to recognize that and expand our awareness to the point of inclusion and belonging. This webinar, this conversation, this collaboration and community we're building in this moment of time is that opportunity to be with one another, recognizing that there is within us the awareness, that spiritual knowing that I belong. And then as in a physical form, I may forget that a little. So the opportunity here is to mirror one another, to see one another as we truly are. A beautiful spiritual expression of the one. By means of the one, we are co-creative. So each and every one of us has this opportunity to fulfill from the heart the expression of love that is the source of who we are. Love being, love expressing, love enfolding, seeing each of us as that divine expression that is unique. So much so that not even the thumbprints are the same. And each is essential to the whole. So I declare that this conversation about building belonging in tumultuous times is a recognition that the power that we have in this group, in any group that has a focus and an intention of being present to possibility, that accepts the invitation to see beyond the tumultuous times, to see beyond the possibility and recognize each of us is a creative power in this expression. That this is the opportunity we have to be in the loving expression of conversation, communication, collaboration, and consciousness. This is a natural expression. In fact, the treatment is a virtual, constant, eternal thing happening in our lives. We are constantly in treatment, whether we are intentionally or not. So this treatment allows us to take this intention, this invitation that Spirit offers, for Spirit always offers invitations rather than impositions. This is an opportunity to accept the invitation, to see beyond, to grow beyond, to hold the source, the love, the essence of who we are in our conversations, to recognize the beauty, the divine intelligence that is mirrored for each of us, to think of seeing into the mirror as we wake in the morning and saying, hello, you spiritual expression, the beautiful thing that you are. I'm loving it right now. And allow that to be the foundation for us to move into this conversation, this sacred conversation. And with appreciation for all those who have accepted the invitation to join today, with gratitude for the opportunity to be here, knowing that there is a consciousness that is expanding. I allow it to be so. I invite it to be so. I accept it. And together we say, and so it is.
Thank you, Sharon. Brenda, would you like to lead us in the land acknowledgement, please?
Certainly. I simply invite you to connect your feet on the floor, connect with the earth, and taking a deep breath. In the spirit of reconciliation and peace, we are grateful for the opportunity to meet on these sacred lands. We thank the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. We recognize our oneness. We realize our history. We choose to create a new reality. We are one. Miigwech.
Thank you. I think we're going to be pasting in the chat the place where you can go for figuring out what native lands you occupy. And if you'd like to put that in the chat where you're joining from, that would be great. All right. Hey, Sunny, I'm joined by Dr. Sunny Cantrell Smith, our spiritual leader today, and I'm so excited that we're together doing this.
It's a blessing to be here.
Yeah, thanks. So it's interesting times we're in right now. As a
You
transgender
think?
woman, I certainly feel like there's a lot of people that just don't think I'm here or valid or make sense or lots of things. And I so appreciated the fact that there's a pretty strong statement of support on the CSL.org website around our support for the transgender community.
Yes. Well, here's the thing. We have a vision, right, here at CSL, and we created this vision. And one of the things that I am standing in the power of is that we now need to really strive to make that vision come to fruition. And standing up and knowing that the power of the divine as our transgender family, transgender people who are certainly valued by Centers for Spiritual Living. How could I not put a statement out? I mean, really, it's sad to me what is happening right now. It's very sad.
And just to remove any question there is, we don't think there's no need for our DEI committee at CSL, correct? I mean, diversity is a fact, as Sharon mentioned in her spiritual mind treatment, and whether we call it inclusion or belonging or any of those other letters that are often associated with it, I think this work is more important than ever.
I think that we're going to become stronger and stronger and stronger, and many of our communities are going to see an influx of new people coming in, seeking this type of science of mind teaching, being valued. I mean, it is, I can already see, I've already talked to some of the communities. People are showing up because they have no other place to go. And they're really concerned about what's happening in the world. And this is just the last, 3.5 weeks. So it's a major concern around the world right now. And DEI here at CSL, I feel is going to become bigger and stronger than it ever has been.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, along with sacred activism, which it is a
Yeah,
part
because
of.
it is
Yes,
important to speak our truth and stand for what we believe. And one of the things that I've noticed is that fear is creeping into my consciousness right now. Fear about my gender markers, fear about what restrooms I'm allowed to use, fear about things that I'm not generally fearful about. And I imagine people in our immigrant community, if you're not sure whether your parents are coming home or begun anything like that, all of these things just create angst and fear in people for what might be coming and unknown. So I do think this work that we're doing is creating a belonging container is more important than ever.
absolutely. I mean, we have to acknowledge the fear. We have to acknowledge how we're feeling right now. Dr. Holmes said it's we don't turn away from the reality of what's happening except in prayer. So we have to know, what we're praying for. And I'm here to support anybody who is experiencing fear right now. And there's a lot of people. It's a very emotional time as well. And I think that, I have in my household, we can't even look at the news after 7 p.m. because I wake up in the middle of the night worried about my friends and my family and my communities and our organization. So it's acknowledging what's happening in the world and how we can all come together to support one another. I think that's what really is happening here, that we have to come together for a common purpose and cause, which is our vision, and stand in the power of that together.
Yeah, I think our teachings really are form a firm foundation for that. And
Absolutely.
I want to give a little shout out to something else that's on the CSL.org webpage, which is your Justice Rising talk that you delivered on Inauguration Day or Martin Luther King Day, depending on which perspective you want to accentuate. But it's a great 4-minute YouTube video, and I think we're putting it in the chat for people. And take a minute and go watch that. I found it really inspiring, and I appreciated the truths that you shared.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
we can't, we have to continue to tell the truth.
Yeah,
We
that's
we really
important.
do.
That
Yeah,
is. So, well, being true to what we said this webinar was about, I thank you for being here with me for this. But what I want to do next is introduce our first breakout room, which,
absolutely.
yeah, which is what I'm calling an icebreaker breakout room. We're going to put you in groups of no more than 3 people. And it's always an invitation to go. If you don't want to be in a breakout room, you are not forced to go into a breakout room. But we think it's great to do this kind of thing. And what we're going to ask you to do is introduce yourself, say your name and community. And then we had 2 questions we'd like everyone to kind of contemplate and answer. Where are you not seeing the divine expressing in your life? And where are you seeing the divine expressing in your life? And some of this is just a point of view or a perspective. Now, I see that we've gone ahead and put these questions in the chat. And last time I went to a chat room in Zoom, all the questions went away, or the chat went away when I went into the breakout room. So any of you who want to make sure you understand the questions may want to copy them or do something to capture them. They're not like really hard questions, but if you want to have them, that's great. We're going to give you 15 minutes, which, if you're good at math, that'll be 5 minutes per person to introduce yourself and answer the questions. And it doesn't give you a lot of time for chit chat when you first get in there, but we'd like to make sure that you go around and do that. And there is one small homework assignment. I want for every group someone to designate themselves as the spokesperson, because we're going to have a little sharing, and I may call on somebody, or you may be asked to be the spokesperson for your group. But if you are, please go ahead and be ready to share. And we want to get as much opportunity for people to talk. So I'm going to request that you keep your sharing to a minute. Okay, welcome back. Everybody's booming back in. I hope people had a good experience in the breakout room. Is there anyone who wants to raise their hand and volunteer to share either something from your group or... All right. I see Adele James raised her hand, so go ahead and unmute, and Adele, and tell us what you got.
Good morning, and I'm looking for, sorry, I'm trying to find who I was with. It's just that, and I apologize for not remembering the name. And
We're with Renee Bloom.
thank you, thank you.
Mhm.
I think we both started not with, we didn't look at where the divine is not expressing itself, but in fact, where the divine is expressing itself. And I think a commonality that we had or spoke to was how spiritual practice has actually helped to prepare us for this moment, and to approach it, that there may be some sadness, but to approach it with not so much the fear, but that it seems the chaos in both of our experiences has led to coming into ourselves, coming to an understanding of ourselves. So I think that looking at that and saying, you know what, this is not what I would want, and who am I becoming in this moment? And that I have the preparation, and it's a matter of relying and trusting. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, Adele. I see Astrid has their hand up. Astrid, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Can everyone hear me?
We can.
Awesome. I've learned to always start speaking on Zoom in that way when I can. So me and Ramona had a fantastic conversation. It was lovely to meet you, Ramona, and I completely agree with the last thing you were saying about you. And so one of the things Ramona shared is that she's very good at seeing the divine in like so much of her life right now, and that even, you know, like it's difficult to see it sort of in the political sphere right now. But that there's also some feelings of like the divine is always working. And so I think trying to maybe lean into that trust that even when it's hard to see, the divine's there. And then, of course, there's me, the resident contrarian, who's finding it hard to see the divine in a lot of stuff. As a non-binary person who, you know, grew up in Louisiana, um, you know, it's very difficult to see the sort of the drumbeat of history come back where, you know, if we're just gonna be honest here, Nazi Germany started with erasing and purging queer information and history and people. And to seeing that happen again, including just recently the National Stonewall Monument removing mentions of transgender people from a place that would not be known today without trans people throwing bricks at cops, if we're going to be honest. We also went a little bit into, you know, I'm trying to find some balance in life. I'm both trying to find as much joy as I can, and struggling between knowing that there are so many people in CSL who are supportive and loving and kind and would walk a mile over broken glass for us. And at the same time, knowing that CSL has a history of ignoring transphobia when it is brought to its leadership and sweeping the issue under the rug. And also knowing that as we move forward through these times, where is the balance between letting the past be the past and coming together versus continuing to hold each other accountable? And it's just difficult, and I don't have all the answers, and I am filled with fear. And I'm also coming to accept that sometimes fear is the right reaction. And I'll stop there because I could talk all day. I
Thank
appreciate
you for sharing. I think we have time for one more. I see we have two more hands, so let's see what we can do. Barbara, do you have a share that you'd like to share with our group?
Well, our group was John, Ursula, and myself. And by the way, Astrid, I'm from New Orleans. I think we're all saying, well, at least we were saying the same thing as the first folks who spoke. We see the divine everywhere. The difference is how individuals express themselves, some not aware of this divine flow, inherited right that can never go away, that's in us. And so we kind of decided it's like a game of life. We'll move ourselves out of the way of that space and let there just be our physical expression and then our divine understanding expression, and let those two flow. And as they do, divine's always going to flow over into that spirit, that physical, to where it overtakes it at some point when we accept it from the physical. And then we talked a little bit about Reverend David Alexander, that he was correct. And we're love seeing now more in the public space a lot of CSL information for individuals to find who just may not be aware, not necessarily CSL, but aware that there is a power and presence in them that works for their highest and best good, and they can lean into that. I'm complete.
Thank you. All right, Joanne, you're the last one with your hand up, so we're going to let you go too. Would you like to share?
Well, thank you. I enjoyed chatting with Zita Johnson Betts. I'll just quickly say one of the things we did talk about is like trying to figure out what it is that is ours to do. That's what kind of came out of the discussion. And just sort of not wearing ourselves out. We're trying to figure out, like trying to be aware and watch the news and everything, but also knowing that awareness is one thing, maybe the first step, and then trying to figure out what it is that is ours to do. So thank you.
Thank you for bringing that into the room. I think finding out what is ours to do or answering that question for each of us is probably some of the most sacred work any of us have to do. So we can't do it all, but we can't do nothing either. So great. Well, hopefully that was useful. It looked like a majority of folks did, in fact, go into the breakout room. So I am grateful for that. And it sounds like those who shared at least got some good things out of it. So I'm grateful for that too. I'm going to turn this over now to Sheila Smith, my colleague on the DEI committee, and I'm going to let her introduce our second breakout room. So Sheila, take it away.
Thank you, Christine. And what a perfect segue into this second breakout room. Joanne, I believe what is ours to do? That is, yeah, that is one of the perfect, that's the perfect question. So in the second breakout room, we are just, it's really about acknowledging where you are in all of this. And some of you have already shared that. Where are you in this time of transition, challenge, and change? And these are just some of the things that we came up with, but if, this is not an all-inclusive list. You know, are you in a place of wanting to build bridges and make connections? Are you seeking tools for communication? Are you wanting to hang out with like-minded people? Are you seeking different opinionated people to get a broader perspective? Are you, you know, I call it Action Jackson, ready to take action right away? Just where are you in this? And so for this group, we'll have six participants thereabouts, and you will have 25 minutes. And we ask that you answer these questions one at a time, sort of in a round robin. So each person has a minute instead of trying to answer all of them at once. Just go through and answer questions one at a time, allowing, you know, for everyone to share. And you'll each have a minute to, like I said, to share for each question. And the last two questions, where in your life do you feel you belong? There's two questions that you can sort of choose from. Where in your life do you feel you belong? Where do you feel you don't belong? Like where you are excluded? Who is the other to you and why? Do you other some parts of yourself? Or can you love yourself right where you are? So there's just a lot to think about. And if someone could drop those in, okay. That's
They're in
already
the chat, right?
Okay.
It's the last
Yeah.
two questions, I think, that they get to pick between.
Okay.
So again, every
Last two questions.
reminder, for those of you who requested not to go into a chat room, you just don't select going into it. Everyone else will be in roughly a group of about 6 folks. Adele, you had a question before we move into our group? No? Okay. All right. I'm going to invite everyone into their groups.
Welcome back. Welcome back, everyone. Good to see you. So please know that these questions were just sort of open-ended to stimulate conversation. If you discuss something that was slightly different, that's okay. It was just a way for, creating the space for everyone to be seen and heard. And so we're interested in perhaps hearing from 3 of the groups. Who would like to share about your experience in your group?
If you want to use your raise hand function.
Brenda?
Thank you. I was in a wonderful group, and what really came to the surface for us is that we, the Centers for Spiritual Living, our churches, our centers, our homes, our families, we are sanctuaries of safety. And that people are coming to us, and people who do come to us because they feel safe, because they feel seen, and because they feel that they belong. And so I just heard that in all the conversation, and I just want to lift up that we're doing something right. I'm complete.
Thank you, Brenda. It's really good to hear. Thank you. I see in the chat someone's volunteering. Sean. Oh, there you are. Sean?
Yeah, so I'm actually first going to give a shout out to Astrid. We actually knew each other from working together at Camp Cedar Ridge. And in our discussion, we were exploring this tension of acknowledging everything as a divine expression, but not allowing that to give a get out of jail free card for those that are not following a path of light, that are in separation and are cultivating shadow in this world. And that led us to a discussion of what is the role of the sacred warrior? At what point do we say, yes, I'm in high watch, I'm a practitioner, or I practice science of mind, and I see God in everything. What I'm seeing this expression of God do in the world, I will not allow, because I say no to genocide. I say no to persecution. I say no to a march backwards in freedom and progress. And that fired up our group. And what I kind of brought to awareness was actually, this is why the sacred warrior has all been purged from our narratives. That's actually why the Jedi is such a beloved character, is it is a divine sacred warrior that from a place of unitive consciousness moves in the world to hold the line, to say, actually, we have civilization, we have sacred work. Someone has to actually watch the perimeter of that and not let those that have turned to shadow dampen our collective light. And that's tricky. And it's a thing that we hope our organization begins to explore. Our organization has a history of that, and we're seeing an opportunity present where people from unitive consciousness need to navigate very difficult situations. And perhaps the high watch isn't just on Sunday morning now, it's actually out in the streets. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you. Powerful. Thank you, Sean. Joanne?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that kind of following on that in some way, that our group mentioned our communities as a place to gather our courage, to give us courage, to do what we need to do. So it's sort of one of the things that we talked about, and kind of goes along with what Sean said. So I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you, Joanne. Rob?
Yeah, I appreciate my group, the reminder that this is not something new, that this is something that has been with us, and that this is an opportunity. I like what someone in our group said, that this is a divine time to wake up, that this energy has been around us and not speaking. So if there is a gift of the divine in this, it's out in the open now. And now we have an opportunity to speak truth, to speak to it, and move through it in a divine way. And I'm complete.
Thank you. You said wake up. I thought of that sung by Harold Melvin and Blue Notes. Wake up, everybody. Thank you. Yes. Ruth?
Oh, okay. In our group, we talked about, there was one, talked about training. We have a couple of people who are trained in this work, and they've started to do small groups in their community, was one of the pieces. So really taking the skills. We also talked about starting at home. You know, that sometimes at home there are people who have a different belief system, and how do we manage that space as a way of being? One of other things we talked about. And then I talked about feeling in spirit all the time. However, feeling a little torn about this is a little crazy, you know, being too serious too long is my way of getting out of this stuff, I think. So this whole idea that some companies are getting rid of DEI, and so I can deal with not shopping at Target. I can deal with not shopping at Walmart. I'm just having a heck of a time letting go of Amazon. So I'm open for guidance.
Thank you for saying that, Sister Ruth. Yes, yes. I saw another hand.
I know. how you
Astrid
feel
will
on that
be
one.
our
Oh,
will be
sorry,
our
go ahead.
last one.
Okay. All right.
Our last share.
All right. Astrid.
Yeah, I just wanted to say it's been really fantastic sharing space with y'all today. Especially, you know, Maria, Deanne, Ramona, Sean, and I forgot one of your names, and I'm so sorry. It's been an emotional morning, but yeah, one of the things that I've constantly been hearing lately is the idea that we don't have to fight for the world that we want. And you know, it comes from this tension that I really have with I think a certain perspective of new thought that, you know, I mentioned this old Science of Mind magazine that I read one day, and I think it was one from the 90s. And so we've advanced a little bit, but the general idea of the article that I read was essentially we don't have to fight for a better world. We believe in a better world for ourselves, and the world must change around us. And I gotta say, I I said it earlier. I am still viscerally frustrated with that over a year after I read that. Um, you know, the thing I keep coming back to is there is not a single right that any of us enjoy today that was not fought and won. One of the just like the phrase that keeps coming to my mind, and I mentioned it earlier in our little breakout session. Queer people like me and many of the other folks on this call would still be being put in asylums had we not thrown bricks at Stonewall. Women would not have the right to vote had they not bombed men. The Americans with Disabilities Act would never have been passed if disabled people did not lay their bodies on the steps of Congress and stop them from being able to get in. We wouldn't have any workplace protections had thousands of workers not died and fought back against oppression. And frankly, we never would have defeated the Nazis had we not taken the fight to them. I wish that treatment was all we needed. But treatment is not going to save us. And you know what? Frankly, I'm going to put it on the table. Save trans people like me from being purged from our society. And I think that right now we have seen this push and pull between different perspectives of science of mind, people who see themselves as sort of on a different portion of the spectrum. Where do we fall? And we have seen it in a lot of the push from many of the folks that are here today, and many of the folks that aren't here. Whether, I'm specifically talking about people like Reverend David Alexander, Reverend Casey Taylor, Reverend Raymond Anderson, and so many others. We are not going to be able to come through this fully intact without doing something in addition to treatment. And that is that is the additional step that I need from the larger organization, is how do we move forward in protecting each other and acknowledging that sometimes that is going to require doing things that we are severely uncomfortable with. And like I said in the last breakout room, I am going to stop trying to organize y'all now, and I'm going to let y'all think about what that means for you, because that is what we have to do. We have to think, how far are we willing to go to put these ideals into action and to protect each other? And I have to think about that for myself too, because I have found so much love in this meeting the first time I've come to one of these.
Oh,
And what does it mean for us to move forward? And I'm going to stop there.
okay. Thank you
Appreciate
so
y'all.
much. And please come back. Please. Please come back. Thank you, everyone. Wow, I just have chill bumps. Thank you so much. I will turn it back to our beloved Christine.
And it says I'm muted. So all those good words I said just didn't go anywhere. So thank you, Sheila. Thank you, Astrid, for sharing. I did paste an updated private message to you for an updated link. Sheila, I hope you saw that. And for the survey.
It's in the chat for everybody.
Oh, it's updated from what was.
Well, it's updated. I have a different one than what was in before. So
Okay.
the old one may still work, but I added another question that I thought was relevant. So
Got it.
anyway, thank you all for attending today. And I want to especially thank my colleagues on the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee for all the hard work everyone put into this. This webinar is a labor of love. I want to thank Sunny for always standing with us as a committee and being willing to sit with me when we talk about difficult topics and difficult subjects.